For over 30 years, Home Alone has been a Christmas staple, enchanting generations with its mischief, warmth, and the unforgettable antics of its young star, Kevin McCallister. Behind the festive laughter and holiday cheer, however, lies a story far more complicated, one that unveils the tragic real-life journey of Macaulay Culkin, the child actor whose meteoric rise to fame was shadowed by personal pain and family turmoil. Macaulay Carson Culkin was born in 1980, the third of 7 children in a tightly packed New York City household that was anything but idyllic. His parents, Kit and Patricia Culkin, lived in a modest railroad apartment on East 94th Street and 2nd Avenue, a space so cramped that the only room with a door was the bathroom, and even that lacked a lock. This overcrowded and austere environment set the stage for a childhood far removed from the fairy tale existence many associate with Hollywood fame. Kit Culkin, Macaulay's father, was a man haunted by the dreams he never fulfilled. A former Broadway actor and dancer, Kit had once appeared in minor roles, including as an extra in the legendary 1961 production of West Side Story, and a small part in Hamlet in 1964. But his career was tragically cut short during an off-Broadway production of King Lear. When caught up in performance, he accidentally injured himself by stepping off the edge of the stage and into the front row, a fall so embarrassing and debilitating that it ended his acting aspirations. Unable to cope with the shame, Kit poured all of his hopes into his children, especially his eldest son Shane, grooming them relentlessly to succeed where he had failed. From an early age, Kit controlled his children's lives with an iron grip. The siblings were enrolled in theater classes, dance lessons, and endless auditions. They were often described as a troupe, practically inserted into any production in need of young performers. Many of Macaulay's siblings, including Kieran, would later speak of feeling like props on stage, used to fill roles rather than nurtured as individuals. Macaulay, however, quickly distinguished himself. He was fearless from a young age, earning a reputation for taking risks and throwing himself into performances with an unusual intensity and willingness. At just 4 years old, he was already appearing in commercials, TV roles, and films. His early credits included appearances in Rocket Gibraltar and the John Hughes comedy Uncle Buck, which grossed $67 million and gained him widespread recognition. However, Macaulay wasn't driven by personal passion. Rather, he was fulfilling the relentless demands of his father, moving from one obligation to the next. The defining moment in Macaulay's life and career came with Home Alone. The film's conception was serendipitous. John Hughes, writing the script while preparing his own family's trip to Europe, imagined the tale of a young boy inadvertently left behind during the holidays as a playful what-if scenario. Hughes crafted the role of Kevin McCallister specifically for Macaulay, aware of his unique blend of charm, charisma, and innate comedic timing. When Home Alone hit theaters in November 1990, it was an instant sensation. The film grossed nearly $500 million worldwide, becoming the third highest-grossing film ever at the time, surpassed only by iconic blockbusters like E.T. and the original Star Wars trilogy. Macaulay Culkin overnight transformed into a bona fide superstar. The phrase, "to be home alone," even became shorthand in Hollywood for a movie dominating the box office. But while the world celebrated Macaulay's breakthrough, behind closed doors his life was anything but the carefree existence portrayed on screen. Macaulay later described his early acting career as little more than a job, one he never chose for himself. His days blurred into a cycle of memorizing lines and hitting marks, with little input on projects or roles. The routines of filming became mechanical, devoid of the joy one might expect. Central to this was a profoundly troubled relationship with his father, Kit. Kit's dream for his children's success quickly morphed into control. Macaulay recounted being forced to sleep on the couch as punishment. As Macaulay's earnings skyrocketed, there was a steep rise from $100,000 for Home Alone to multi-million-dollar paychecks. Kit's involvement deepened, overseeing contracts and taking a large cut, effectively removing himself from a nurturing parental role, becoming instead a manager wielding authority. The constant public spotlight amplified the pressures on Macaulay. Fans thronged around him during public outings, often invading his privacy with little regard for the child beneath the celebrity mask. Attempts at anonymity, hidden faces beneath ski masks or low hats, were quickly shattered as enthusiastic crowds recognized him instantly, sometimes pulling at his clothes or personal item. Amid the chaos, a surprising figure stands out in Macaulay's life: Michael Jackson. Both having endured controlling and abusive fathers who imposed heavy burdens early on, Macaulay and Michael forged a unique friendship. Despite the 23-year age gap, Michael was in his 30s when Macaulay was just 10, their bond was genuine and sincere. Macaulay frequently visited Jackson's Neverland Ranch, a sprawling amusement park-like estate that became a haven for Jackson's circle of close child friends. Macaulay slept in Michael's bedroom on occasion, but insisted nothing inappropriate ever transpired. Macaulay would later testify to Jackson's innocence when the star faced allegations. Following Home Alone's massive success, Macaulay's career accelerated. The sequel, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, released in 1992, further cemented his status as Hollywood's most successful child actor. He earned a staggering $4 million for the film, setting records for child actor pay. Yet while Macaulay climbed the ladder of fame, his personal life was rapidly unraveling. The pressure to keep producing hits was relentless. Kit Culkin's grip grew tighter, his controlling nature alienating studio executives and industry insiders. Studio heads complained about Kit's attempts to wield creative control, fueling a growing chorus of criticism and concern about the family's dynamic. Despite being one of the highest-paid child actors and working steadily, Macaulay was growing weary. By 1993, exhausted and desperate, he begged his father and managers for a break, yearning to attend school and experience normal childhood beyond film sets and contracts. His pleas fell on deaf ears. Kit continued pushing him into one project after another, signing contracts for expensive but underperforming films like The Good Son, The Nutcracker, Getting Even with Dad, The Page Master, and Richie Rich. Though some had financial success, their critical reception was poor, and Macaulay's star waned. The intense strain began to tear the Culkin family apart. Patricia and Kit's marriage dissolved, sparking public and bitter custody disputes over their children, particularly Macaulay. The conflict centered around control, not just over Macaulay's upbringing, but over his lucrative earnings. Determined to protect himself and his financial future, Macaulay legally removed both parents from control of his trust funds and appointed an independent executor. With Kit no longer a part of his life, Macaulay sought a new identity away from the weighted shadows of his childhood. Hollywood insiders knew Kit Culkin as a controlling, difficult figure, and many producers grew wary of working with him. Out of the industry's glare, Macaulay embraced a rebellious New York City teenage life. He dyed his hair bright colors, smoked, drank, and embraced a wild counterculture lifestyle, an attempt to shed the wholesome kid star label. Unfortunately, the media's fascination never wavered. Tabloid headlines fixated on his every mistake, painting him as another fallen child star in a line that would later include Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan. Macaulay later reflected that the frenzy was overblown. He behaved no worse than many privileged teenagers in his Manhattan social circles. But the relentless public judgment took its toll. In 2003, Macaulay attempted a comeback with the film Party Monster, a gritty, R-rated biopic of a nightclub figure. Critics panned it, and it failed commercially. Out of sync with both his youthful fan base and adult audiences, he found himself straddling an impossible gap. Shortly afterward, Macaulay was arrested for possession of marijuana and prescription medications. The arrest captured headlines, cementing the child star gone wrong narrative. But he insisted the incident was ordinary youthful indiscretion blown out of proportion. He was far from the tragic figure tabloids portrayed. Meanwhile, Macaulay found personal support through a 7-year relationship with actress Mila Kunis, who understood the pressures unique to former child stars. They remained intensely private, shielding their relationship from the limelight. In 2008, Macaulay's sister Dakota, who had stayed largely out of the public eye, tragically died after being hit by a vehicle while walking home. The loss devastated him, deepening already heavy emotional wounds. Shortly after, Macaulay and Mila broke up, adding heartbreak to grief. Publicly, Macaulay's health and sobriety were questioned amid widespread rumors, many unfounded, of drug addiction. He acknowledged having experimented with substances but resisted the portrayal of himself as a cautionary tale of addiction. In a bid to reclaim some joy and control, Macaulay created a quirky pizza-themed parody band called Pizza Underground, infusing humor and absurdity into a niche music project far from mainstream expectations. In 2013, seeking respite from relentless media scrutiny, he moved to Paris, living quietly for 4 years and blending into everyday life, escorting baguettes under his arm, away from the relentless Hollywood gaze. Eventually returning to the United States, Macaulay found love again with actress Brenda Song. Their relationship brought Macaulay newfound stability. In 2021, they welcomed a son, Dakota, named after Macaulay's late sister. Macaulay has since made select moves back into the spotlight, including a well-received role in the 10th season of American Horror Story, podcasts, voice acting, and other creative outlets. While cautious, he steps forward with gratitude for the second chance at life and career. His relationship with Brenda Song and fatherhood seemed to have brought light into a life once clouded by hardship. Macaulay's story reveals the complexities obscured behind the laughter of a holiday classic, a turbulent childhood shaped by an overbearing father, a rise to unprecedented success, public adulation and scrutiny, personal losses, and an enduring fight for self. He stands today not just as the face of Home Alone, but as a survivor, a man who, despite trauma and tabloid narratives, has rebuilt his life with resilience and hope. His path cautions and inspires, reminding us that behind every shining star is a human soul striving to be free.